Welcome back to this week's Ohio Tech Report. Another exciting week for the state of Ohio with tech and innovation. We want to thank our presenter for this, Apprenti, but we have with us this week Karen Mauk from Joot, which is a Cincinnati headquartered FinTech company. Karen, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for joining. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Joot.
Sure, Chris. Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm a huge fan of Ohio X, as you know, and the Ohio Tech Report show. Again, my name is Karen Mauk. I'm the marketing director at Joot, a Cincinnati-based fintech, and we build automated compliance tools for SEC-registered investment advisors. So our goal is really to help advisors meet those SEC regulatory requirements, but in a way that really kind of helps them automate and simplify those repeatable tasks, specifically for chief compliance officers, with the ultimate goal of saving them both time and money.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining. We're big fans of what you all are doing, Bo and yourself and the whole team. Our three
Thanks.
stories this week, which we'll highlight real quickly, are the GovTech Summit that Ohio X, our group, hosted this past week on Wednesday. Story number 2 is another Intel update that's very exciting. And story number 3, we're going to dig into some of the exciting fintechs like Karen and like Joot that are happening across Ohio. But before we begin, we have to thank our presenting sponsor for the Ohio Tech Report this week, which is Apprenti. Apprenti is a 501c3 nonprofit that delivers registered apprenticeship programs to bridge the tech talent and diversity gaps. By adapting the time-tested model of apprenticeship, Apprenti helps employers meet evolving workforce needs and trains future tech workers with an emphasis on underrepresented groups, including women, people of color, veterans, and people with disabilities. Apprentice programs are industry recognized and federally approved for employers with tech talent needs across the United States. So, Karen, you ready to dive into story number 1?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, story number 1, it's a little bit of a self-brag, I guess, for us at the team and Ohio X. But as I mentioned, we had our second annual. That's what's fun. We're a new group, so we're starting to do things, the second time around. They're getting bigger and better. But we had the second annual Ohio GovTech Summit, which is our attempt at bringing together tech and government, which we think is really important because there's so much happening at the intersection of the two, from economic development to laws and policies and rules and regulations. You're in a highly regulated space that Joot is working in, but it was really cool. We had 30 speakers, 6 panels, keynotes from U.S. Senator Rob Portman, Lieutenant Governor John Husted, Ohio Senate President Matt Huffman, and a bunch of great folks from startups to big co's, education institutions, state representatives. It was really, really cool, Karen, and it's fun to see these worlds come together because we think, and with your all support, we make it happen, of making sure that tech has a voice with government.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. It was an awesome event, really fantastic conversations. And what I love so much about that forum is you brought together stakeholders across the board. So, really just kind of like broadening out that ecosystem and showing who's a player in that sphere and who has influence to really kind of shape the future of tech, specifically in Ohio, and what that might look like and who can participate. And I think maybe people came away from that event with a lot of things, but one of which is probably like, I have more agency to do to make a difference and make an impact in this state, and that's huge.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and it's I think so necessary because, again, a lot of traditional sectors and industries have been doing this really, really well and making sure that their work and their what they do, whether it's manufacturing or healthcare, government leaders, they know about that. But tech is a bit newer, and maybe for
Sure.
a long time has been considered part of IT operations only. But tech, there's just so much potential and opportunity. It's new companies like yours. It's big things like Intel.
Right.
It's how our established businesses are innovating and being competitive on a global stage. So I love it when these two worlds get together, which is really cool. So, Karen, we'll go to story number 2 real quick. That
Okay.
is another Intel update. So last week I had the opportunity to join the Ohio Business Roundtable at their Ohio CEO Summit, which was in Columbus. Brought together CEOs from companies from big to small and everything in between. But we were joined virtually by Pat Gelsinger, who is the CEO of Intel. He's virtual from Silicon Valley, but he was talking about how Intel is going to get to their hopefully $100 billion total investment in Ohio. And every year or two, they're going to keep building this thing out. So it's not just one factory. It's going to start around the $20 billion mark, but they're going to keep progressing and hopefully get up to $100 billion of investments. But I thought it was so cool to have Intel CEO, who's been making headlines all across the globe, join us and talk about what's going on. And it's such an exciting time. That's just one example. It's probably the biggest example recently about Ohio and tech. But it's just incredible to see the excitement and energy and passion behind everything that's happening.
Yeah, I love this story, Chris. It's just so exciting, and there's so much that goes into an endeavor like that. Actually, the New York Times did a great piece recently on Intel's expansion and some of the activities specifically going on in Ohio. And it's just such an incredible design story, like from product design and packaging design all the way up through architectural design, infrastructure design, political design, if you go out that far. It's really tremendous. And, that this is all happening in the state of Ohio is pretty incredible, I think, for the future of tech.
It really is. It truly puts plants a flag. Let's, not just in the country, but across the world, that
Yep.
Ohio is a great place to do something like this. It has global importance, American importance, and it's such a cool thing for our state. And so we'll go to our third and final story, which is our friends at Purpose Jobs. They put out a really cool list about some of the top FinTechs in the state. And you're, one of those FinTechs that we get to work with all the time. And it's, I think, one of those, we talk about Ohio's opportunity. Our state is incredible at financial services. There's so much going on in that space. And so to see FinTechs like Joot and those on the list, it's really, really, really neat to see the growth of this. So Karen, maybe tell us a little bit more about what Joot's doing, your all's kind of perspective on the FinTech scene in the state.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a fascinating list, and really kind of cut across, a lot of different areas where there's some important innovation happening. And one of the common threads that I saw in a lot of those stories was this focus on opening up access to more people, specifically within, the financial sector, and how important that is. So at Jute, we actually recently launched a SaaS product, or a software as a service product, that does open up access to a wider range of users, and really just allows people to jump right into the tech and try it out for themselves, which is kind of a huge thing for us. It ties into our broader initiative to really kind of improve the user experience of our app itself and our digital resources. So things like our blog and video content, our white papers, event coverage, and more. And at Jute, we also offer a range of consulting services to complement our tech. So we bring that important human element back into the tech equation as well.
And I love that. And actually, Bo, your CEO, and I were talking about that. I love when tech companies will kind of combine that side too, the
Sure.
consulting, or and the service and the product, because it's just such a fascinating way to be, really getting true feedback and kind of being on that leading edge of figuring out what customers want, what's the industry saying. And so when you can
Absolutely.
meld that too, that personal approach with the technology and the product on the side, it's a really, really interesting kind of intersection that I think a lot of companies would be kind of smart to do, more of that. And it's cool to see that you all are doing that as well. But we're wrapping up. We got about 30 seconds total left.
Okay.
So in about 15 seconds or so, Karen, any final comments? How can people follow you? How can they follow Jute, learn more about your work?
Yes, absolutely. Well, please reach out. I'd love to hear from folks. Again, Karen Mauk. Go to our website at jute.io. Follow us on LinkedIn. We have a great event next week with Ohio X. We have our Marcom roundtable coming up, and we are kind of exploring in that event, different ways to kind of innovate marketing. And one of the things my team and I at Jute are working on is looking at the development of some do-it-yourself approaches, like marketing toolkits or templates, that would really kind of allow users to take control of their marketing programs and generate their own materials that are customized, cost-effective, and compliant for us.
Cool.
So yeah, we're super excited about that and some other initiatives that we're working on.
That's awesome. Well, that's a perfect way to end. Karen, thanks so much for joining. Thanks to you and the team for all your work you're doing, making Ohio an exciting place for tech. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you all next week. Bye bye.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.